Hi, I'm Cindy from Clovis Paws for Play, and I'm here with Penny eh, from Uper Paws of Loves
And several other
through
canine coaches
and
helping here
several
today.
other of our canine coaches. Robin, Ashlyn, and Julie are also here for Crazy to Calm. And tonight we're going to discuss paw targets. And this is a picture of Julie's dog, Earl, doing a paw target. And Penny, if you know the leash that's dangling loosely in the background there, you
Yep.
might recognize that. That's a penny leash. So what Earl is doing here is he's gaining some confidence. And I can guarantee you, when we first started doing this, he would not put his paws up on that truck. Generally, we do not put the money into them and make them move because it can be kind of scary for the dogs to jump on these things. Um, but this is a skill that Earl has gained over the last couple of years and has really learned to excel at. And there's a bunch of reasons why we teach it. In this case, he's using it for confidence, but there's other reasons to teach it as well. Just a second. I'm going to just take the picture down if I can get to the right screen. Um, is it sharing still?
Yes.
Okay. Because now I'm not even on the right Zoom page. There's the stop share. Okay. So there's a bunch of reasons why we teach Pause Up. Penny and I are both big fans of Pause Up, and we tend to teach it with a lot of the dogs we work with, if not most or all. And how it pertains to tasks for your service dog, um, it's a foundation skill for lots of tasks, um, including but not limited to opening door levers by pushing on the lever, jumping up, pushing the lever down if it's a lever door, or pushing the bar if it's a door with a bar on it. It can be used for pushing buttons. Nick generally does a nose target with the buttons, but other dogs do paw targets, or they need to jump up and put their paws on something to push the target. Um, they can be used for alerts. You know, some people have their dogs jump up on them as an alert. They can be used for turning on lights. So potentially, like if you have one of the rocker ADA switches they're probably about an inch wide or 2 inches wide, and that you can just, kind of bat with your hand. You can teach the dog to turn those on and off. Nick learned to do that as a puppy on his own. Um, or they can also be used to teach them to hit one of the touch light pads that are about yay big around, and they can learn to whack that with their nose or their paw, depending on where the pad is located, to turn on or off an appliance or whatever that pad is attached to. Um, they can be used to teach settle on a mat. So if your dog has not learned to settle on a bed or a mat, like if you take some sort of blanket or towel with you when you go out and you want your dog to lay on that so that they're more comfortable, or just to give them a boundary, you can use the paw, teach them to get on that mat using paw targets by teaching them to put their paws on it. Um,
Couple of others include pushing drawers shut and doors because some dogs don't like to do it with their nose. Some would prefer to use their nose. Some would prefer the paw. And even putting paws up on something so that we can put gear on can be super, super helpful, which is not a task per se, but if we have to gear up our dog and we can't bend over to do it, that's a great addition to
they
a
And it
task.
becomes a task.
Yeah, some
they can
tasks.
they can be used to help teach DPT. They can be helped to teach the dog to get on or off a scooter or a wheelchair. They can be used. I use paw targets to teach to get on and off the grooming table, and for husbandry skills like, may I have your paw please so I can do your nails, or can you scratch on a scratch pad? Those things are, though they may not be tasks, but nail care is definitely high on the list of things that your dog needs to know how to cooperate with. Um, and then I also use it for fitness type things and hind end awareness so that the dogs are more aware of their back end. My personal feeling is the dog needs to know how to move their back feet. And dogs, while dogs do move their back feet, they don't necessarily know they have their back feet and that they have independent control over their back feet. So it's an important thing to consider when you're teaching your dog basic skills. Do we want to teach paw targets? So it's pretty easy to get started. And then when you're working on confidence games, paw targets two up or four up can really make a difference in your dog's level of confidence and their ability to and their willingness to try things. That's why we have that picture of Earl with his feet up the on the truck. So generally when I'm teaching paw targets, I will take the target and I will put it on the floor, and I want something. You can use a lot of different things. You can use books, cinder blocks, upside down flower pots, dog bowls, wide variety of things. I like at least a little height, so there's some differentiate. So when the differential, so when the dog goes to put their foot on it, they know they've got their foot on it. And if they don't get it all the way on, their foot's not all the way on it. So I tend to use collapsible stool. I get these collapsible stools, plastic stools. They telescope and they go flat and they turn into a round disc. And I tend to use them as a round disc on the floor when I'm teaching. You don't have to go buy one of those, but they sure are handy. And then if the handler
You
needs
want
to
a quick video of this while you're talking?
we have a video of it somewhere.
Yeah, I have a video. I have it
Okay,
up and ready.
yeah.
I could share.
Go ahead and put it up. So generally when I'm doing this, I shape it and I start with a single target that I'm using, and I wait for the dog to show. I bring it in, and generally the dog is going to show some interest in the target because it's something new in the environment. If they don't, it's perfectly okay to put some food on it so the dog will go over and sniff it and make notice of the target. And you want to reinforce all interactions with the target while you're getting them to go, oh, hey, this is kind of cool. Once they start to get interested in the target, then you want to start shaping for that behavior like Belle just offered, where she just jumped up on the target. Clearly, Penny works with targets a lot and with targeting her hand. So this is where luring and don't fall over there, Penny. This is where luring and hand targets can come in handy because they're not necessarily going to know to put their feet up on that platform, as Belle just sat there, and then Penny puts down a lure and Belle jumps up. Now it's not always this easy. Sometimes you have to work a little harder just to teach them that it's okay. Belle is
Yeah,
obviously
I think
very
this
young.
was Belle's second section, and the reason she's doing it so easy is the very first session I used still a low target like this, but
Mhm.
a very wide target. I think it was more like a dog bed, and I was just throwing the treat back and forth, so she was running across it, right?
And that's a
This is the
perfectly
first
acceptable.
one where I controlled the safety of you're gonna go up there and stop, which is why she picked up on it really, really easily.
And that getting on or off a bed, something of that, a platform, something of that nature is definitely a good way to get it started. Nick, you are
The
not going to have,
problem with the bed is it was too easy for her to go four paws on. So
right.
going
And,
down to the smaller station, it was easier for her to stop. So
but
you
to
have
get,
to like choose your targets when you're starting based on the dog you're training. If you're training an older dog, a raised bed or an exercise trampoline or a dog station works really well. But if you're doing it with a young puppy, starting really small, and if you don't have nice stepping stones like I do, you can also use like the lids from old bowls that don't have matches anymore until you
you
can build up to using old bowls that you don't have matches anymore.
and you
So
can also
something super easy.
you can use, an upside down dog bowl. You can use, that's what Nick used as a puppy. You can use a planter, a cinder block, a book, a box. If you have a box, like right now, I've got like five, probably 10 boxes of that are full of milkshakes that Nick could easily use, put his weight on. Poe could easily put her weight on it.
I like
Penny,
books with puppies because they don't slide as much as some of the other objects.
right, and that's why I have things that I prefer, but I don't want people to have to feel like they have to go out and buy stuff.
Right. There's a
Um,
million and one different things. I just have stepping stones.
can you take over for me a few minutes? I am getting the I've
Yep.
got to go outside look.
Yep, no problem.
All right, I will be
So you
back in.
guys trying to get the puppy version. I could show you quickly what I would do is say you have an older dog and hold on, I gotta stop the screen share in order to be able to back it up. And forgive me, I'm having mouse issues tonight. My touchpad stopped working. So trying to use a USB mouse and it's not necessarily working the best. But so if you have an older dog that's struggling with like wanting to hit the target, then I will do something more like this. All right, I gotta share again. And my computer is running really, really slow. So here I'm using my same paw stepping stone pads, but I'm using multiples and see how Blue is like stepping over them and not really hitting them. Oh, he did get it pretty good that time. But so building out more. If I have a dog that really struggles, I'll add more until like my whole foam pad is filled with them. And then I'll drop some kibble right inside the area. So as they're stretching to get the kibble, they accidentally step on them. And that will give them
Oh,
confidence. But this is actually using the same hand target method with an older dog. I'd probably drop the kibble in with him on day one and then switch to doing this on day two when he had a little bit of confidence. Really, I'm only using this to build Blue's confidence because he doesn't have a whole lot of confidence in me. And I want to be able to you know, let him get used to working more with me at this point in time. So Ashlyn, it won't let me pull your chat up, but I will in just a minute because this is being picky. Like everything's frozen. It won't let me do anything.
Okay, I'm back.
The idea multiple ones can make it easier. I know that the people that are here have been doing paw targets for a while.
Ashlyn
So,
said she also uses a frisbee.
oh, nice. Yep. Thank you. I was trying to get back to where I could do that. I gotta stop this video real quick. All right. So I showed a video of an older dog that's just starting out with paw targets as well.
And
So go ahead.
how long it takes is going to vary from dog to dog and handler to from team to team, based on the dog, the handler. Like, I've had better luck getting dogs up on targets that handlers were struggling with, mostly because I had more experience doing it, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm more willing to split and reward than some other people might be, because I'm learning every day, because it's very easy to lump. I'm learning every day that it's almost impossible to split something too much. Um, so, and this is definitely one of those things that you want to reward, and gradually raise the criteria without lumping as much as you possibly can.
I also
Earl,
will heavily rely on the hand targets that we learned last week in order to
mhm.
teach this. So if you need to take some more time and practice those hand targets before you go into this, do that first because hand targets are way more important and you're used for a lot more tasks. So use pod targets once you get the hand targets going effectively. You can use those hand targets to teach the pod targets.
And you
So
can
we
use
have one
I
other little thing that we want to teach tonight, unless Cindy has something else to add about pod
I
targets.
I just want to show that one video. Let me where is it? I
Do you
just
have a
had it.
good task video with pod targets?
No, I have Charlotte going on a video on a this is still. This is a still. Um well, I'm going to show this is where it goes to because this is just freaking cute. Um because, it's my dog. Um so this is where you can get to. Now, if you know anything about me, you would know that I used to fly, and my dad was a pilot, and there was a lot of stuff about blue and yellow biplanes. This isn't a biplane, but it is blue and yellow. And so I took this photo of Nick for my dad because Nick is on the air, is wing walking, and in case you don't know, the red tag on his harness actually says "remove before flight." So to me, it was important to have a picture of him on an airplane. So there's lots of
Oh
pictures.
no, you took a picture of Nick, not with 4 feet on the floor?
He's got 4 feet on. He's wing walking. But this
Everyone
is
who
where
knows me knows I'm obviously just joking. That's a big thing. And like if this airplane were in a restaurant, Cindy probably wouldn't have done it, but it's in a kids' play area where those kids are just dirty, if not dirtier than our dogs are.
and if you look in the background, Earl is sitting in an ambulance or a police car.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, we do have fun. I don't think the mall security likes it that we do this because they've made comments to one of our other group members when I wasn't there because the mall cop knows better than to question me about our service dogs and doing
But they
training
have
in the mall.
questioned other people in your group before. Yeah.
Yes, twice. So, anyways, that wasn't the video I was looking for, but let me see if I can find it. I will share it.
Are you thinking of the heel one with Charlotte, where she's
Yeah,
on the target for doing pivots?
no, I have lots of those of Nick.
I know you do. I just thought maybe because I thought you had one of Charlotte too.
Probably, I had one of. Let me go back and see if I can find.
We don't need a video of that. I just thought maybe that's what you were looking for.
I have one of Annabelle learning pivots because um, Diane Diane struggles with teaching pivots.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had Annabelle for 2 weeks, and I was sending daily videos. Oh, here's a good one. So he
You
slipped
put
when
it in chat instead of shared?
I didn't share anything.
No, you dropped it in chat though.
I didn't mean to drop anything in chat.
You did.
Okay.
Oh no,
So,
that's from Ashland. Sorry.
okay.
Yes,
So
Ashley, we'll show your if it's the video I'm thinking of, we'll show that right at the very end.
now if I can get this to play.
Because
So
that's how
what
we actually are putting it into a task. So I do want to show that when we're looking at the task.
let me see. This was yeah, okay. So this is I'm not sure why it won't play for me right now. This is Toby,
Mine
and Toby,
struggled with playing when I was sharing screen.
well, this is from my photos. This isn't from
Oh,
YouTube,
you're
but
still
this
sharing screen.
right. So this is Toby, and he was learning to put paws up on a planter, and he slipped in the planter. That is Festus in the background from Gunsmoke. The guy Ken, what's his name, that played Festus is from Clovis, or was from Clovis. That's why we have a statue of him in front of the bank. And we always, when we do Old Town, we didn't do that yesterday, Julie. When we do Old Town, we generally go over by the bank, if for no other reason to get our picture taken with Festus. It's kind of our group thing that we do. So that was part of, let's see if I hit, oh, there we go. So if you see, he slid in there. He was just trying, but he continued to keep his feet up there. So he definitely is gaining confidence from doing that. So that was a confidence building thing we were doing with him. I did link some videos.
We'll link more videos in the description of this so that you can see all kinds of different videos in building up pod targets onto various surfaces. Just for the sake of time, we don't want to go over all of them.
No. And
I did want to just do a quick share to let you guys know of a resource. And this resource will be posted in the Patreon. And get back to where I can see. And I'm going to share screen again. And the only reason I want to really discuss it tonight is to let you know this resource is available. So this is a task training worksheet that I developed. And if you're like Julie, you can print this out. It's set to print in a full page. If you're like me, you can fill it out in Google Sheets, right? So it walks you through the steps of planning the task. But why I really wanted it in this recording was because I wanted to be able to show you guys, in case you're not familiar with Google Docs and how you can fill out a thing. So we have a shared version that we will post. That shared version doesn't allow you to edit that version, right? But if you go up here to File and then make a copy, it will allow you to make a copy of it, and you can leave the name copy or you can add a new name there, right? It's only asking me to share with the same people because I'm in a shared folder. Won't ask you that, but it'll save it to your drive. And once it's saved to your drive, you can make edits to it, right? So if I saved this to my PBman drive instead of my UberPause one where it's shared to, I would be able to then have one that I could use for my dog, right? So in case you didn't catch that,
Okay,
File, make a copy.
copy.
And then it will give you the option to name that copy anything you want, but then it'll save it to your docs. It won't save it to us. We won't be able to see it unless you choose to share it back to us.
and
So
the other thing is,
one other quick thing about this is we
I was
have a
gonna
worksheet here that's blank, and that's the template you would use or print. And then we have a sample. And the sample walks you through a planning. And this one is just the one that we were discussing on a previous Zoom. So the task is having Belle search for and retrieve my water bottle. Also having her be able to pick up my water bottle from the floor or by my seat and bring it to the kitchen to give to a family member, which she's already doing that part. In the end, and where she doesn't know yet, is if I'm already in the kitchen and I know my bottle's empty, I want to be able to send her to my bottle and have her bring it back to me. And that's the part we're teaching right now. So that really is like the final one, which could also mean if I'm in the bedroom and I need my water bottle, I need her to come out to where it normally sits in the living room and get it and bring it to me. So that's the final part of the task for me. So you can kind of list how you need help with the task, breaking it down into 3 different sections that go together. First of all, finding and retrieving. I taught her how to do both of those. Carrying an empty water bottle to the kitchen so that she can carry it back full after somebody fills it up. And then being able to send her further away to get my water bottle and bring it back. So just as a quick, we're not going to review the whole thing, but this whole top section is about outlining is what that should say. I see there's a mistake there. It should say outlining. I'll fix that later. And then as you scroll down, there's breaking it down. So that's looking at the different foundational skills that you need in order to teach that. In this particular task, it would be retrieving, carrying items, right? Another foundational skill might be searching for items. And then probably a third foundational skill for this one is going to be a longer distance retrieve. So we haven't gone over retrieve as a foundation yet, but that will be coming up in the near future. But so you can break those down to however you need it. So I would suggest if you have multiple different skills that your dog needs to be able to do in order to work on this, list them there and describe them there. And then you can break it down into things that you can actually measure and click and, like the idea of slowly add weight, starting with an empty water bottle, building from 2 ounces up to 6 ounces, something measurable. And there's room to put in like 5 of those tag points. And then there's after session notes is the final section. So it allows you to kind of figure out what you did it work, what do you need to do, how do you need to break it down differently. So you can do one for each training session. Or if you make your answers generic, like I tend to do, you could do one that might get you multiple training sessions for a week or 2 weeks, depending on how you break it down. You can break it down and what's going to work best for you. Want to show you one other quick thing about Google Docs, because this is where it's going to benefit you. And Robin, you'll want to watch this, and maybe Julie. So if you look at the bottom here, you see worksheet, the main worksheet and sample, right? If you want to duplicate this main worksheet, all you got to do is click on the little arrows, right? And duplicate. It'll create a second blank worksheet, right? See, it says copy. So then if you click on your copy, you can go to rename and rename it anything. So say I wanted to name this one closed doors, something we talked about tonight, right?
It's a different process than the other one.
Right. So it's the same worksheet. It's going to be a whole new foundational skills, whole new defined process and how that's going to mitigate your disability. So you can create as many worksheets along here as you want for all the tasks you want to teach. And you don't have to copy the whole worksheet every time. Right? You're just copying this worksheet at the bottom instead of going all the way up here to file and make a copy, make a copy, make a copy. If that makes sense. So up
Yes.
here it's make a copy, but down here it's duplicate. And you can duplicate as many as you want all the way across the bottom.
And I would recommend that if download the copy and keep a blank one and then make a duplicate and fill the duplicate out so you don't have to download the worksheet every single time.
Well, and then you don't have to if you're going to, if you're going to fill it out in paper, if you're going to print it and fill it out, just download the blank one and print multiple copies off of the blank.
Right.
And
But you
also, there was one other thing I was going to show you. Shoot, what was it? I showed you that. I forgot it. I totally forgot it.
You can't
There
have
was
that.
one other thing. It had to do with duplicating and renaming. We talked about that. If you decide you don't like the order of these, you can just click them and drag them into a different order. Click the one you want to move and drag it.
Okay.
And if you no longer want this one because it's not important, you can click on that arrow again and hit delete. And it'll make sure you want to.
They work
nice-
like the old ones that were on discs. I've just never done this Google thing,
Oh,
but it looks like they work the way when I worked in an office and they worked Microsoft or some other
Excel.
companies.
that was going to be my next tip. So thank you, Robin. That was what I had forgotten. So if you do have Excel on your computer and you prefer Excel, instead of making a copy of the worksheet for your Google Drive, you can hit File, come down to Download, and then you can download it as Excel. And if you know you're only always going to print it off and fill it out manually, you can download it as a PDF, which will be easier for you to save that blank copy. Then you don't have to go into your Google Drive every time you want to print more.
Okay.
Right.
But it works as the Google Doc program works the same way. It
Very
looks like.
similar. Yep.
Very
It's not exactly the same way, but that's why it will download into Excel. There's
Okay.
another program that some more techie people use that don't like to pay for products called Open Office.
I use
And it'll
that one
download
primarily.
that as well.
Okay.
So
My nerdy
the other thing-
husband turned me onto that one a while back because it's free, but it also works much like Excel, and I used that until I learned to use Google Docs, and now I like Google Docs better because it saves to the cloud, and I don't have to have it on my computer, which means I
other
can
thing-
open it from multiple devices.
The other thing about having it on Google Drive is you don't have to delete it. You can keep it. It can stay there forever. I'd keep it as long as your dog is a working dog so that you have documentation that you were working on a task. So if you download the task sheet and you work on the task and you make notes on what's going on with the task, it's going to show when you were working on it, what you were doing. You don't have to document on it every day, I mean, if you're training it, yes, I would. But once the task is trained, you can just, check it off somehow that, yeah, this is completed. I use it. And then you have documentation. You have a training log that says, yes, I trained my dog to do this.
Ah, dual
And
purpose.
and so you can, so I would save it at least as long as you own the dog. So you have a training record because nobody ever wants to go to court. The whole thing is we want to have this documentation. So if we're ever questioned, we can say, hey, look, here's my training logs. This is what I've done. This is what I've worked with my dog, because it's pretty hard to falsify a training log. I mean, you could in theory, but they're going to be able to go back and, if they got really techie and put their computer nerds on it or their hackers on it, they could figure out that, hey, this was falsified. But they can also go back and say, oh no, this wasn't falsified. So like I've set up some spreadsheets that are specifically to the obedience training that I'm doing with Nick. And I set it up so I found that about a week is what I need that I can keep track of on the spreadsheet. So I print out a new one, or I make a copy for each week that we're doing, and I put notes into that. So even if we're working on the same module for 3 months like we have been, I still have documentation for that entire time, unless we were intentionally taking time off, of what we were doing, so that I can say, well, yeah, I wasn't working on tasks, but I was working on this other behavior with him. And, it's showing that what it's showing is that I'm doing ongoing training with him. And I think, especially with a dog like Nick that is just too busy, too thinky, he needs constant training. He doesn't just need to know the tasks and how to help me. He needs to be constantly learning something. And so I think having that documentation on him is to his best advantage. So
Quick thing
I
to
highly
share with you real quickly is if you did this and you want to like ask one of us how it looks or what might need to be changed, you can go up here to share. And if you click on that, it gives you a couple of options. This one is set to share with anyone with a link can view. So you can send it to us that way. We can't change it. If you want us to be able to access it and make changes, just type our email address in up here, the Crazy to Calm Canine Coaches, gmail.com. And that will allow any of the canine coaches to be able to open it to
Okay.
help you with it. So even if you're one of my clients or one of Cindy's clients and your canine coach is not available, you can get help from any of the canine coaches by sharing it there and then asking the coaches for help. So once you have that name in there, or you can also switch it to anybody here can edit, but this is more risky. It's better to share it directly with the email address you want to share it with, and then click done. And it totally sends it, and it'll give that email address. If you put in an email address, it'll give them an email that says, hey, so-and-so shared this with you. So if you want us to review your plan, go ahead and share it back to us and we'll happily review it for you. Any other
Or if you
questions before I stop my screen share?
Or if you have questions about how it should be broken up or split, we'll definitely help you.
Right, we can help with that too. Does anybody feel the need to walk through a practice task and fill one out together as a group? Or do you think
My
you got
brain
it
just
enough?
can't do it this right now. I'm listening and I'm reading, but I can't.
Gotcha.
And we
So
can
if
always
you
go
have
over it.
any issues, whether you're on the Zoom tonight or if you're checking in on the replay, if you're having any issues with how to fill it out, just ask us. We'll happily help you learn how to fill it out. As
And
simple as that.
this is meant to be a tool to help you. It's not meant to be a tool. It's nothing you're getting graded on. There's no real wrong answer.
Correct. It's not a requirement. So if
it's
you have a
also
better way to do it your own way. But if you don't have a better way
right.
to do it and you want to use this, feel free.
The goal is to help it make breaking down a task to teach it simpler and easier and more understandable for both the handler and the dog. So, like you can't split there's no way you can split a behavior too fine. You can easily lump, and most of us are guilty of lumping at some point in time in our training. I know I am. And it's just generally a lot easier if in doubt, split it up. So that's where, like, when you're teaching a paw target, that's why I say when the dog even looks at the target initially, reward them. And that, rather than expect them to just know how to do it, they don't know how to do it. They don't speak English. You can't tell them just put your paws on there. They don't necessarily understand that until you teach them what put your paws on there is. Or like Nick's learning a chin rest on my hip right now, and it's starting to make sense to him because he's starting to do it in more places, and I'm waiting for him to just do it on his own. But that's how you tell when they're starting to understand it, is they're going to offer it, and they're also going to be able to do it in more places, and they're going to do it a lot quicker. But when you're first teaching that behavior, it's going to be really slow, and there's going to be it's going to be awkward for them.
So, are you ready to see how paw targets can help with a task, with training a task?
Mm-hmm.
Ashlyn recorded this awesome video for us. So this is, you'll have to remind me, Ashlyn, is it light switches or do you use this for doors? This is for light switches, right? Waiting for her message to come back, but I'm pretty sure it is for light switches. Once I share my screen, I won't be able to see your message. Oh, no. So this is for opening doors. So they do have the kind of door handle that is like the straight line bar kind of thing, not the round door handles like I have. So this is how she teaches the dog to open the door, because all they got to do is push down on it. It would also be the same way you teach the handicap button to push it with their paw, right? Same method for both. And I'm not going to share the whole video because it is 9 minutes long. And the link will be in our, I got to share screen in our group. So this is for door buttons. So I'm gonna let you just kind of see the bottom of it so you can start seeing how she builds up, and then I'll show you like a middle portion, and then I'll show you like the end of their video. So here Daisy already knows the pause cue, so she's just going for up on the wall, and she's not being specific on the wall at this point. So if Daisy didn't know the pause up cue from climbing on other surfaces, she would have to teach this first. But now she's trying to teach Daisy to specifically target the spot. And instead of starting with a really small spot, like the size of a handicap button, she's using a great big frisbee because it's an easier target. And she can move that target around on the wall to teach Daisy to hit all kinds of different heights. So Daisy has to focus her targets a bit more in this situation. And so she can put it higher, she can put it lower. See, higher is definitely easier for a taller dog because they automatically are going to want to stretch up with their full height, right? Whatever their height is. So a shorter dog may be hitting it lower than the button at first, whereas a taller dog may be hitting it up higher. So using a target like this really helps you to zero in on, look for this. I need you to hit this at whatever height it's at. And some people use sticky notes for the small one. For me, those, like, yes, you can move it around, but then they start to fall. So like Ashlyn's using here, I like to use a target that I can also hold with my hand and change the heights more frequently.
Really? I like that.
But the other option would be
But-
tape, like
Yeah.
painter's tape that's not going to destroy the wall. And that tends to stick a little better, although I've had problems with Nick actually pulling the tape off things I've used for a target.
Yeah. And if you don't build a bigger tape section, a dog might have a hard time hitting tape until they got really good at small paw targets.
Right.
Right. So, she shared the shortened version with us. So it's not 9 minutes. She has a long 9-minute version. So kind of just skipping toward the end here. Maybe I skipped too far toward the end. Daisy likes it when it's up high. It's definitely easier for a dog that way. But see, she was getting better at hitting it every time, closer towards the end. So it's a practice. So that's for using automatic doors, like hitting the handicap button on automatic doors. Could also be used for the bar doors, the ones with the bar going across doorknob. All right, so any other, we have a very short list of paw target tasks from last year, which I'll copy and put in the chat group. If you want to put, or from last week, I said last year. If you want to put any other tasks in the chat, go ahead and do so now. So tasks that you think would have a foundational cue of paw targets, paws up, that kind of thing. And I'll
I
put
think
our
we
short
should
little list
also-
from last week.
I think even though they're not tasks, I think we should also keep in mind that we can use paw targets for lots of other things that are important to our service dogs as well. So
Like medical alerts.
well, medical alerts would be a task, but I'm thinking things like husbandry, cooperative care. So like having them be able to be able to put their paw in your hand as a target for nails, or to I'm having difficulty getting to my to the messages where I put the videos in earlier. There's a link to a scratch pad video with Nick.
Yeah, give me a minute. I can look
Let me see if
through.
I can
the
find
link
it.
and put it in messages. Let me
But
just
I
copy our list of tasks over.
okay, here. Let's see. I found it. Let me see if I can
Okay.
find the. This is the one.
Light switches are another one that was not mentioned. I just gotta put it there. Yeah, you can share if you
I've
want.
got this. I've got the video, so I'm gonna just share this. Let's see. Okay. So this is Nick learning to use a scratch pad. This is when he had cords.
Nice.
So I wait, and this is on a flat scratch pad.
Nice.
And I like this. This was great for teaching him how to use
Nice.
the scratch pad. And if you notice, I'm just letting him do a little scratch.
Nice. Nice.
And he's quite happy to be rewarded for that.
Nice. Do the other foot. Nice. Nice.
I'm gonna have my son look at my mouse pad thing tomorrow because using this USB mouse when there's something wrong with my mouse pad is definitely messing with me.
So
Nice.
it's pretty simple to teach this. And this can actually be a really good way to, if you have limited energy or you have a dog like Nick that really doesn't like his feet being touched and he tolerates getting.
No one seems to know this, but Amazon actually has a $50 million fund that they have to pay out every single month. And here's how you can get a cut of it.
Okay, let me get rid of that.
So
I actually have upgraded my scratch pad. So if anybody's interested, this is an M shape or W shape, depending on which way you hold it, but it's an M shaped. So when they scratch, they get their whole paw in there. The other ones tend not to get their outer claws as much. If you're interested, I can put a link up for people. Maybe we should put that in there as well.
Yeah, that sounds good.
This can be a really good, if you just, if for whatever reason, if your dog does not like having nails done, that can be a really good option, at least as a temporary while you're working through things issue. So that you don't have to necessarily don't have to necessarily clip their paws as much.
Yep.
So
I have one like that too. Mine is just not the M shape. Mine is flat, but it allows me to hide treats in different sections. And they got to scratch it to dig out the treats. So they like mine.
this was
Mine's
the
a
first.
circle. So that
Okay.
spin it.
Neither
to get the
I got
treat.
bigger ones because I have a giant dog. And I figured that it was, for me, it was just as easy to shape without the treats inside. They still went after it.
I know. I like the fact that mine is like I can hand it to him and I can walk away and go do something else.
Yeah.
I
Well,
give it to his will sometimes when I'm gonna shut him in the office and go out and work in the training room with another dog. And I come back and his nails are done and his treats are gone. Right?
right. And
Win-win.
That's a win-win-win. So I was actually the one with the M-shaped one, it comes also with a treat thing on the inside that they can get at. I actually heard somebody say the other day that they put theirs up and their little terrier basically broke the door on the treats. So it just depends on the dog. That wasn't their bigger dog. That was a little, I don't know how big that dog is. It's not very big. You probably know what dog I'm talking about. It's a little border terrier.
I don't
But
remember.
oh, it's anyways.
All right. So our additional tasks, we have paw targets for putting shoes on. That's a great use for paw targets. Need them to put their paw in a specific place, even if it's your lap, so you can put their shoes on. And Robin said she's gonna practice on bathroom, bedroom, and front door closed before the kitchen. Because anytime we do a training in the kitchen, that is gonna involve new rules and things like, you can only do it when I ask. You know, you can only, there's special requirements around the kitchen. So sometimes we want things to be already learned or already have some association before we do things like teach them how to open the refrigerator. Even you could say the same thing for opening a door to go outside. You may not want your dog to automatically open the door and let himself out, so you got to make sure that their door manners and not going through that doorway is spot on before you teach them to open or close an external door. But you could teach them to open and close an internal door as long as your external door had a nice, good deadbolt. Some dogs might figure it out anyways if the doorknobs are the same on interior doors and exterior doors. But
Right.
as long as your exterior door has a nice, good deadbolt that you can leave on a majority of the time, you should be okay while you're working on door manners. But yeah, so that is a very important consideration when you're training tasks, is that where is the task going to occur that's on our worksheet? Where is it going to occur? Is it going to occur out in public? Is it going to occur mostly at home? Like the water bottle task for me is only going to happen at home and at the training center. That's not a task Belle will do in public places, which kind of gives me some freedom to train it in ways that, you know, I don't have to worry about a leash because she's not going to be on a leash at home most of the time. And in the training center, if she's on a leash, I can always take her off the leash or at least drop the leash or put her, like if I say I need her to go into the office to get my water bottle and I have dogs in the training room, I can put her behind the gate and tell her to go get it and bring it back to the gate and then open the gate to reclaim her leash if needed, kind of thing. Right. So when it's going to be done, when the task is going to be done at home and only at home, we can set
You've
up
got
that
more
task in
freedom.
any way we want because we don't have any rules or boundaries confining that besides on
much
what we want for our home.
And it's much easier to use play as a reward for those tasks because I just have this thing. I don't think it's right to necessarily play tug in the middle of the shopping mall.
It depends
That's
on
just
how
me.
you're playing it though. Like,
Right,
because
but
Joel had a really soft, mild tug that we could use in public spaces. And like, it was no different than doing hand targets for him. I had his tug strap attached to my belt loop, and he would not break my belt loop, is how soft his tug was when he was doing it.
that would be Poe. But I also have a
Bell,
very
on the other
vigorous.
hand, totally different. And I would not use I would not use tug to reinforce Bell in a public place because she would go into game on monster mode, let's play tug.
Right,
And
and
it's
that's what
not the right adrenaline I want to add to the situation or the right arousal level for her.
and that's why you need to be careful where you use certain types of reinforcement, and that's why all service dogs need to, if they don't come they all need to learn how to take treats appropriately, and that treats are a currency of, yes, you did your job correctly. You did the thing I asked correctly, and you have to teach, believe it or not, you actually have to teach and build value to that aspect of it. Yesterday, Julie and I got to deal with Annabelle, the Bernese Mountain Dog, who is still at a year. It's not taking treats softly. And, but her owner has different priorities than I do. So,
Man,
that's
that's like one of the first lessons I teach a puppy or new dog.
she was
Even
taking
dogs coming into the training center. It's one of the first things they learn.
right. That's one of the first things I teach because I don't like getting bitten, but it's apparently a very common issue is, and there's ways to deal with it. But if you have if your dog is either not food motivated or too food motivated, I've dealt with both. And I literally spent a couple months teaching Nick how to take food, and now I can hold food in my hand like this, and I will have a tongue going between my fingers or up by my thumb or out the bottom of my thumb. Got him
When
so
you
he
want
will.
him to. Yeah.
when I
Different to
ask him
pose
to
to
do
the
it,
dog the small in the hand when you don't want him to.
but he also knows to either follow my hand with his nose on my hand, so
Mhm.
a nose target, or just to follow my hand or to follow the target. So that's all stuff we've had to learn, and it's something that doesn't get discussed as often as it should when we talk about food motivation. It's not just you give the dog a treat, you have to teach the dog to take a treat. So just to be aware of that for future, if you have any issues about that, Penny and I both have resources on that and are both willing to help. And um, we've both had issues with it, but you want to have like 3 or 4 different ways to give treats that your dog will take the treat. And if your dog's not taking the treat and you've gone through all of this, then we need to look at why the dog's not taking the treat.
Yep, that's a whole different class we're gonna
That's a
be
whole,
teaching
we
in
will
the
have
near
another
future,
class
'cause
on
I've
that.
wanted to do that for a few other people as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a couple of questions that popped up was asking if it was a target to ask for a paw so that you can. So the question here was like check for stickers before putting shoes on, putting shoes on, that kind of thing, or is it just a cue? If the dog is putting their paw on something, you're cueing that behavior, it's still a target. So like if you were teaching the dog to shake your hand, they're still hitting a target. Right now I'm teaching Belle to high five and then wave. So like high five, I want her to actually push her paw into my hand. That's a target. But the wave is like she's targeting the air, right?
Yeah,
So
and I'm in,
but she's still targeting because for her, paw targets are so advanced. She's done it so long that learning to move her paw in the way of a target without the presence of a target is hard.
and I also want to throw something out here because I want people to be aware of this. If there are trainers out there, and I have my opinion about what kind of trainers they are. There are trainers out there that will say never teach a dog paw targets because then you'll just have a dog that paws at you. And that is not the case.
That's
My
only
dog,
if you reinforce them for pawing at you for doing nothing.
well, what my response to the last person who told me that you should never teach paw targets was, well, if the trainer is not teaching the handler how to put the target on cue and under stimulus control, that is on the trainer. It is not on the handler. That is on the trainer for not reinforcing with the handler why it's important that, especially with this cue, because a dog that just comes up to you and does this to you repeatedly for attention is not being, it's not under control. It's not a useful, it's not a helpful behavior. And
It might be communication from the dog standpoint, but unless
but
that communication is leading to something, it's still not clear, effective communication.
no, and it's not a good thing to teach as a man because you don't want a dog just to walk up and go up to somebody that, especially with service dog, you don't want the dog just to walk up to somebody, a doesn't random person and start pawing. It's, you can absolutely teach paw targets, and you absolutely should. I think my personal opinion is every dog should learn paw targets, if for nothing else, for nail care. But
And you can teach them to paw you on demand, especially for like a medical alert, and be obnoxious
Yep.
about it because you tend to ignore those alerts. But you also want to teach them that it's not okay just to go up and do it to other people. And it's not okay to do it to you if there isn't a medical issue going on.
you want it under complete stimulus control so that the cue is there, the antecedent is there, the behavior is there, and the consequence, which is the cookie, is there. And so it absolutely is a behavior that all dogs, in my opinion, should learn. So if you ever see somebody or hear somebody saying, don't teach paw targets, we're telling you, yes, you absolutely can teach paw targets, and no, they don't have to be obnoxious. My
So all the
Newfoundland,
tasks we listed in the chat group, I put a bunch in the chat. Is there any that you need from the people that are here tonight that you need us to get a video of demonstrating how it's taught? Or do they make sense to you already? Do you have a plan of action and how you want to teach them? And I
And
can
for the-
go through that list orally if you want me to.
And for
Can you go through it orally once so I'm not scrolling and
Yep,
trying
no
to find
problem.
it?
and then
So
the
it's
other
pushing
thing,
handicap
Yeah.
buttons.
if you're watching this if you're watching the recording of this and you have questions or you want direction on how to teach it, please send us an email, and one of us will get you a video of how to teach it and help walk you through teaching it.
Right. Perfect. So our list that we have so far, and this is a building list, we can add to it throughout the week, is pushing handicap buttons, pushing doors and drawers closed, pushing other buttons such as like light buttons and stuff like that, or Belle's got the I love you button I showed you guys all last week. I can pull that one out again maybe for Friday for fun. Push alerts, so that's like a paw target or pushing the handler. It could be pawing at the handler's leg to interrupt a behavior, or I've seen dogs actually use both legs from a seated position to push down to stop somebody that struggles with like jittery behavior where their leg is bouncing or their hand is bouncing, and then the dog will just put a paw on there, put light pressure to hold that body part down. Light switches. There was also pushing an item across the room or pushing an item off the counter. That came from, if I need the dog to get me my meds or my water bottle that's on the counter, they have to be able to push it off first, because normally they're not allowed to touch things on the counter. And that again becomes like that fine line of, first of all, we have to teach them what objects they're allowed to push on a lower surface, such as the floor, and then maybe build up to a chair or a coffee table or a footstool, building up to the higher surface of the counter, so that they have a very good understanding of the cue. Here, get this, push this, before we ever ask them to put paws on the counter. We never want to teach a task like that, starting with, yes, put your paws on the counter and push this, because if they don't have an idea of the item or items we want them to push, then they're going to start pushing food off the counter and off the counter and you name it. So doing
It
it in
becomes a
that,
playground.
yeah, doing it in that controlled setting first, where you have it on a very good verbal cue before you teach it in the kitchen, could be really helpful.
Boy, did I make the mistake, and that's when he became verboten in the kitchen until I could figure it out.
So Julie says that she has the ADA lever handles, so Earl can use a pause to push it down to unlock the door. But she also wants to add a tug pull to the door open. So the pulling things is also on our list of tasks to do. It's just not on my list for tonight because we haven't gone over that. We could do tug next week. I don't remember if we had another plan. First of all, is there a target we need to do right away? I know chin targets are one. We could revisit chin targets later because it's not used for as many tasks.
The other one would be rear foot targets, and that we could potentially do that with chin targets for the same reason.
And I've never done rear foot targets for tasks, but it's great for teaching other things. It's great for heel work. It's great for hind end awareness, so they're not stepping on the wrong things. And so we can throw that in on a bonus some week when we have a light week, if we want to.
It's great teaching backing up, which is a PA skill.
Yep.
So Julie, I do have a video. I will take a picture for you of how Nick's door handle is hooked up and how you can hook it up. And I'm not sure if you have one of the inappropriate dog toys, politically incorrect dog toys. But basically you just need a tug toy with a loop, and you can loop it around the door, and I'll take pictures of how I do it with Nick's, and I'll do it with the one like the blue and yellow tug that you had yesterday. I'll show with that so you can see how to do it with that.
I need to make a new tug toy for my bedroom door because Azul does not like the one that's currently there. So I can try to get a video of making a tug for your door too. And like my tug might look a little bit different than Cindy's, which is okay. You know, it's different. Sometimes you got to make the tug that works for your dog too. And so like I've
So-
used things like paracord in the past so they're nice and soft for a dog that is not so sure about putting things in their mouth. I've used thicker rope. I've used leftover rope, leftover leash pieces, all kinds of different
And I-
things. So there's a lot of
And
ways.
I use tug toys that I get at the Dollar Tree, so they're $1.25. And but so every time I go in, I look for the ones. I have a couple of them that are tied like a noose. That's why I said they were politically incorrect. But there's a loop. So there's like a knot that they can grab onto, but there's a loop so you can loop it on the door. And I'll take pictures of how I loop it on the door so the dog doesn't pull it off. There's
And we
also
can put
Velcro,
that on next week's for the tug when we
right?
go over
And there's
tug.
also Velcro. There's also Velcro straps that you can get, and that are.
So does
pretty
anybody
easy.
have any paw target games they want to play tonight, or is their dog sleeping?
Oh, Pippin's asleep.
Okay. So what I want to see you practice on whether we do it live for Friday or whether you send us videos or post it in the Working Paws group, whatever. I want to see paw targets on at least 3 different heights of targets. And if you can create a game of paw targets in some way, shape, or form, like I have a few, and I'll be posting mine in the Working Paws group, and we'll go over them on Friday in this group as well. So, but if you have games that you like to do with paw targets, feel free to post them, and that way we can all kind of learn more about them and help our dogs make it fun.
I have a pattern game that actually uses paw targets. So that might
Yeah,
be.
that first video of Belle was actually a pattern game, just going back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, that's like lily pads. It's a very good solid pattern game that you can get going so that your
Yeah.
so that you can have it as a part of your startup routine.
Yep. I like that too. Do you have one ready to show? Is that what you did? I see a spotlight on Ashlyn. No. Oh,
we
that
have
is Ashlyn. Yep. That's the paracord tug that she uses on her door. Yep. And I've done
So the-
paracord ones like that where I've braided it. The tug toy is Lil used to use, and in a store is a short paracord tug. That's just a really simple braid. Yep. I kind of figured all dogs would be asleep at this point. That's why I didn't want to make anybody get up and play a game.
Mine is trying to go cat hunting right now.
Yeah.
I could show the advanced paw target of using doing using a pivot platform.
Yeah. I'm gonna be the one falling asleep,
Yeah.
folks. I'm really,
Let's save
really
the pivot
tired.
platform for Friday. And I've
Okay.
got a couple of games that can heighten paw targets as well that I'll save for Friday.
Okay.
That way we
Okay.
can end this and not have it be too much longer because we've already been going on for quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
10 o'clock already, so an hour and a half already.
Yeah, it's 11 here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Robin
So
needs some sleep.
unless anybody has any questions, feel free to ask if you do. Otherwise, we will see anyone who's available Friday night at are we doing 4 or 4:30?
Whatever
We
works.
always were doing 4, but last week it got changed. Anybody have
Let's
a
do-
preference?
Unless anybody has conflicts, let's do 4.
Yeah, 4 works better for me.
That's fine here.
All right,
That's
4
5
p.m.
my
Friday.
time.
We'll put a link in the chat room again. The links are available on Patreon. If you ever can't find one, just know that it's a different link for Tuesday and Friday.
Oh, Okay.
Because Tuesday is open to everybody that's in the Working Paws group, and Friday is only open to Patreon members.
Okay. I'm learning. I'm just
Yeah,
slow, but
it's
I'm
a different
learning.
link both ways so that we don't have the wrong people joining.
Okay.
Yep. But they're both listed in the very same post on Patreon, which should be the top one if you go to the task collection.
Okay.
We're going to be creating a how-to Patreon video, but very soon.
Yeah, I'm still getting used to the Patreon. That's brand new to me.
Yep. Well, and so far it's been pretty easy because you get an email when we post something new and it lets you find it, right? But
Mm-hmm.
maybe you want to find something you watched a few months ago and you want to find it again. So that's where we're going to do the how-to video so that people can find it. And that will be available to everyone in this group or other Patreon memberships as well.
And I will put
Mm.
links to the YouTubes, some of our YouTubes with paw targets.
We have authorization
In the
to be very
Patreon.
proactive and go out and prevent
For the
crime instead of just
for
being
paw targets.
reactive.
Got a video
For
or
a friendly
two,
police
yeah.
department, we can really
Okay,
be
I
out
put
there
it in the
communicating
calendar.
with the public while
Unmuted.
keeping everybody safe. We've got information that
You're not going out right
There
now. I'm getting
she is.
stared at again. He didn't do anything last time he went out. I think he wants to go hunting.
All right, everybody's asleep. Everyone's fallen asleep. So shall we say have a good night?
Hasta
Yeah.
mañana.
Good night.
Have a good
Can't
night,
get too
everybody.
rapid.